A few years ago, I made a video called 10 Linux commands you should try. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you 10 more Linux commands you should try. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a while. I know we are long overdue for this one. And in my last video, I kind of played around a bit in half the video and just showed some just for fun but useless commands. In this video, all 10 of these commands are actually useful. None of those just for fun but actually completely useless ones. And if you stick around till the end, I've thrown in a bonus. But let's get this video started. The first command I'm going to show you is ping. And as the name suggests, this will ping whatever IP address or domain name that you point it to. And this is really useful for troubleshooting your internet connection, because this will essentially allow you to pinpoint where the issue is. So what I do is I would first ping my gateway address, which in my case is 192.168.1.1. You can find this in your IP configuration settings. And I could see that, yep, I can ping my router, so I know I have a link between my computer and my router. And then I'll ping any internet host by IP address. I usually do something easy to remember like Cloudflare's DNS, which is 1.1.1.1. Ping that. Yep, I can ping an internet host. And then I'll ping any website that accepts ICMP pings like google.com. And I could see that, yep, I can ping google.com, so that means that I should have internet access. Now, if you can't ping your router, then that means that you don't have a link between your computer and your router. So the issue lies somewhere between there. If you can ping your router but not an internet host, then you know that the issue lies between your router and the internet. It may be something to do with your ISP, but it's also possible that the cable between your router and your modem is just disconnected, or the cable connecting your modem to your internet service provider is disconnected. Now, if you can ping an internet IP but not a domain name, then it's most likely because of a DNS issue. So then check your DNS settings. If you're using your ISP's DNS servers, which most people do because that's default, then it's possible that their servers are down, in which case you could try switching to public DNS like Cloudflare's and see if that solves the issue. The next command that I'm going to show you, which is also useful for troubleshooting, is the traceroute command. And as the name suggests, this will essentially trace the route between your computer and any internet host. Now, this is a command that on Ubuntu anyway is not pre-installed. You have to install it with sudo apt install traceroute if you're on Ubuntu, and this command will be different if you're on anything not based on Debian/Ubuntu. But once you got that installed, you can traceroute any internet host like google.ca, and then this will basically show you all the routers in between you and google.ca. This is my default gateway, and I assume those are my ISP's routers. Whereas now we're on the public internet, and then google.ca. Now, this command is especially useful in an enterprise environment because it'll allow you to pinpoint which router is having problems, or if it's something with your internet service provider, or something that's on the internet. And in those last two cases, there's generally nothing you can do about it. The next command I'm going to show you, and this is installed by default. I think every command is, except for that last one. So what this command will allow you to do is see the IP address or IP addresses associated with the domain name. So it can, for example, nslookup google.com. and then it'll give me the IP addresses associated with google.com. So this will allow you to test if your DNS is working properly. If it doesn't, either there's something wrong with your internet connection or you have a DNS issue, in which case you can use the ping command to test that even further. This is also a fun command to just play around with if you just want to see what IP address corresponds to what domain name. This is also useful in an enterprise environment if you want to check your DNS records and make sure that those are set properly. The next command is the IPA command, and this will show you all your network interfaces and their IP addresses, along with their net masks in sitter notation, along with their MAC addresses. And by the way, /24 represents the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, which is how most home networks are set up. I don't think I need to really do much more explanation with this one. The next commands I'm going to show you are the sudo adduser / deluser commands. And as the name suggests, these allow you to add or remove users and groups, respectively. So I'm going to create a user called demo user, and then you just enter your password if prompted, and then it'll prompt you to set the password for your new user. So let's set that, and then type it again. And then you can enter a full name for the user, like demo user, and then you can also just leave these blank to keep them default. And I've just created a new user called demo user. If I go into settings and users, you could see that, yep, demo user is there with standard privileges by default. Now, if you want to give this user administrative privileges, you can do sudo adduser demo u space sudo to add them to the sudo group. Now, obviously you want to be careful who you give this permission to, because that essentially gives them broad permissions across your entire system. Now, the deluser command essentially works in reverse. So for example, if I want to remove administrative privileges from my demo user, I can do sudo deluser demo u space sudo. Make sure you include the space sudo, because if you don't, you'll delete the user itself. Then hit enter, and then, yep, I just removed demo user from group sudo. Now they're back to standard user. And by the way, you can use this to add or remove users from any group, not just the sudo group. Now, if you want to delete the user account, then you can do sudo deluser, for example, my demo user, and then it just removed my demo user. Let me go create my demo user again, because I'm going to need that for this next command, which is the passwd command. Now, when used just by itself, you can use it to change your own password. It'll prompt you for your current password and then new password twice. Now, I don't actually want to change my password, so I just put in the wrong password on purpose to cancel that command. So now if you want to change the password for another user, then you got to do sudo passwd user, and then it'll prompt you for the new password twice. Now this command actually has quite a few options. Like for example, if you wanted to have a guest account with no password, then you could do sudo passwd -d username, and then that'll basically just clear the password for that account. Obviously, I would strongly recommend against that for administrative accounts or accounts handling sensitive data. And then you can use the -l option to lock the account, or the -e option to make the user change their password on the next login. Moving on to a command that doesn't require sudo privileges is the cat command, which is short for concatenate. This will basically output a text file to the terminal. So I actually just went ahead and made a small text file right in my home folder. So you just do cat path to file, or you can just put in the file name if it's in your working directory. Hit enter, and now there's the text stored in the text file, and here's some more text. Pretty simple command. I don't think it requires too much explanation. So moving on to the uname command. If you type uname-r, it'll tell you what kernel version you're on. I'm on 6.8.0-56 generic. Not the latest one, because I'm on an LTS release of Ubuntu, so that lags way behind on the kernel updates. I believe it only uses LTS kernels, because the goal of an LTS release is to be as stable as can be. Now, if you do uname-a, this will tell you more information about your computer, including like the operating system it's running, which is Linux, its host name, kernel version, and also distribution, even its current date and time, and architecture. The next command I'm going to show you is the man command, short for manual. This will essentially allow you to read the user manual for a given command, if a user manual exists. If, for example, I want to learn more about how to use the IP command, which, by the way, has a ton of options, like so many that I couldn't even cover a fraction of what you could do with it in this video. Like, I could make a whole video about that. But, for example, this is what you get with the help menu. Not much, and not very user-friendly. So if I want to read the manual, I could type man IP, and by the way, you can do this with any command, just man command, enter, and I've just pulled up the manual page for the IP command. And I can read through all this, like this manual is long. Like, there is a lot of options that you can do with this particular command. But like, you could scroll up and down with the up and down arrow keys, and then hit the Q key for quit to quit out of it, and then I'm back to the terminal. The last command I'm going to mention is the grep command, and like, this is something that you would pipe another command to, like this. So for example, let's say like I'm on a Ubuntu system and I want to see all the packages installed on my system. I can type dpkg-l, which will show me a list of all the packages installed on my system. Now, a Linux system is going to have a ton of packages installed, but let's say you're looking for a very specific one. What I can do is type that same command, but then pipe it to the grep command, and then type in what I want to search for. For example, Dolphin, which is my file manager. Hit enter, and oh, look at that. Now I've just listed a few options that contain Dolphin. And the grep command will actually highlight the portion that you search for by putting it in red. Actually, a more practical use case of this is if I want to dpkg-l grep Linux to see what Linux kernels I have installed. The grep command can be very powerful. Now it's time for the bonus that I said that I'd throw in. This one's not a command, but I thought it was worth including in this video, and that's sudo insult. Let me show you what that does. It's disabled by default, but I've actually went ahead and enabled it on my own system. So I just do sudo a command, and like, by default, if you enter the wrong password, it'll say, sorry, try again. Let me show you what my system does with the sudo insults feature enabled. It'll basically just output insult, which I think is funny, but of course I'm going to leave it up to you whether or not you want to enable this. But if you want to enable it, just type sudo vi sudo, press enter, punch in your password, and then scroll down past the comments, and then add the line default tab insults. Exactly like that. Then press Control X, Y, then enter to save, and now that should be enabled. And that's it for this video. If you want to share a command that I didn't mention in this video or in my previous video, please feel free to share it in the comments below. And be sure to like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends.